All right, let's talk about a creature that's, well, it's pretty unexpected. We're going to dive into the world of one of the biggest land snails on the entire planet. Yep, get ready to meet the giant African land snail.
Okay, just take a look at this guy. I mean, really look at the size of it. We're talking about a snail so big, it can fill up the entire palm of your hand. It's truly a gentle giant of the invertebrate world.
And believe me, that's no exaggeration. A fully grown giant African land snail can get up to a staggering 8 inches long. To put that in perspective, that's about 20 centimeters. That's a huge snail. So, if you want to get technical, its scientific name is Lysatina fulica. And as you might guess from its common name, it originally comes from the warm, humid climates of East Africa. Think places like Kenya and Mozambique. That's its home turf, right along the edges of forests and near riverbanks.
Okay, so how exactly is a creature like this built? Let's take a look under the hood, so to speak, at the snail's blueprint. We're going to explore its amazing anatomy, and we'll start with its most obvious feature.
You know, the snail's body is really a marvel of efficiency. You've got the most important parts right here. Its protective shell, of course. Then there's that strong, muscular foot it uses to get around. And see those? It has 2 pairs of tentacles that help it, well, sense everything around it.
Now that shell, it's so much more than just a house. It's like its own personal portable fortress. It's made of calcium carbonate, and it actually grows right along with the snail. Creating these 7 and 9 spirals, they're called whorls. And the colors are just beautiful, ranging from a light tan to a deep dark brown, and you'll often see these really cool reddish or yellowish streaks.
So, you might be wondering, where does it get the building blocks for that fortress? Well, it all comes down to its diet. To have a strong, healthy shell, the snail absolutely has to eat foods that are rich in calcium. It's that simple.
Okay, so how does it actually eat? It doesn't have a jaw and teeth like we do. Instead, it has this incredible tool called a radula. The best way to think about it is like a tiny, flexible tongue that's covered in thousands of little microscopic teeth. It's perfect for scraping and cutting up its food. Kind of like a natural file, right?
So what's a typical day, or I guess a typical night, like for a giant snail? Let's take a little peek into its daily life.
This snail is a total creature of the night. It's nocturnal. So what that means is, during the day, it's all about resting. It'll burrow underground or just hang out in its shell, trying to stay out of the sun. But when the sun goes down, that's when the real adventure starts.
And yeah, nighttime is feeding time. This snail is an herbivore, but it is not a picky eater. Not at all. It has a huge appetite, and its menu is just massive. We're talking over 500 different kinds of plants. I mean, everything from leaves and fruits to even tougher stuff like tree bark and fungi.
You know, life out there can be tough. So what happens when the weather gets really extreme, like super hot and dry? Well, this snail has a pretty amazing trick up its sleeve.
It does this thing called estivation. Basically, it pulls its whole body way back into its shell. Then it creates a seal over the opening using a layer of mucus that dries up. This little trick traps all the moisture inside, and the snail goes into a kind of deep sleep, just waiting it out until things get better. That incredible resilience leads us right into our next topic, the next generation. So, how do these amazing snails make more snails? The whole process is really fascinating.
All right, this is super interesting. Giant African land snails are hermaphrodites. What that means is that every single snail has both male and female reproductive parts. Because of that, there's no such thing as a boy snail or a girl snail. And even though they could technically reproduce by themselves, they actually prefer to find a partner. And after they mate, get this, a single snail can lay up to 500 eggs at once. That is a lot of eggs. It finds a safe spot and buries them in a little underground nest to protect them.
And out of those tiny eggs hatch these adorable little snails. They're basically miniature versions of the adults. The young ones are sometimes called snailings, which is just great, and they grow fast, reaching full adult size in only about 6 months.
And these guys stick around for a while. Their typical lifespan is about 3 to 5 years. But if conditions are just right, some can live for up to 10 years, a whole decade.
Now, you'd think that an animal that lays hundreds of eggs would be super social, right? But actually, these snails pretty much prefer to go it alone. It's a solitary journey for them.
Yep, they spend most of their lives by themselves, really only getting together when it's time to mate. So, that begs the question. On those rare times they actually form a group, what do you call them? Okay, you've actually got a few really cool options. You could call them a route of snails or a walk of snails, but my favorite by far has to be the very fancy-sounding escargotoire. How great is that? So when you put it all together, this snail is resilient, it's adaptable, and it's just completely unique. The giant African land snail is, without a doubt, a true wonder of the natural world.
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? What other amazing creatures are out there, just quietly living these incredible lives? Maybe even right outside our own front doors. Thanks for joining me for this one.